Hey guys, we are back with another video. Today we're going to be doing a illusion part bob. I already mowed the client down and everything, so let's get into the video. And we are using solo green, two 10 inches. What you got? Well, I have. Oh, you mean a longer blunt? Yeah. Okay. Actually, it's going to be two 12 inches. And you guys know I start here. And even though this is a blunt, I never start at the bottom. It just gives it a better flow to me.
I went downstairs, I found him, he said, if I was you, I'd pack on back. We decided, in conjunction with the collaborative approach with the whole team over there, engineers, police, ambulance, the best way forward is now to evacuate, just to stop this engagement, to protect the safety of everybody.
That's crazy. It's really tumbling down. I know way.
So we had 2 hours to pack up, arrange accommodation, get our cars out, and all sorts of things. So it was chaos.
I know it was. Everybody doing it.
They were closing off the street. It was just get out, basically, get out. And you're in shock. And I think when you get out, you're starting to think, did that really happen?
Sure. Got all the money out of school, right?
They were confused, obviously. It was a Friday evening, and come home from work, someone coming home from work. So obviously a lot of stuff happening around the place, and they need to get information. And we did our best to try and actually keep, level of, obviously calm.
And that's not even the same building. That's actually a different building.
Yeah, I seen it.
Very emotional.
Like how the heck everything. I would never move over there and try to get no damn house.
What is that?
Australia.
Oh.
So we don't gotta worry about it. Well, hopefully we don't ever have to worry about no like that. We don't have a lot of too many high-rise buildings. Anyway, so.
There's concern amongst organisations like ours and Engineers Australia. So is the pivotal time to take action and to fix it. Mascot Towers has a troubled history. Craig Young was one of the first to buy in. So Craig, what's wrong with yours?
My mum was the first building to see Mr. Bum's home level there.
And then I hate high-rises like that. I don't like condos at all. So look, I would know I would never live in no crowd like that. I don't like condos. They too close.
I just don't like it just because of the twin houses.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I don't see how people go move in on the 15th floor, and I don't even want no hotel room that high.
Later on, we had a few.
Because if a fire start at the bottom, you gotta jump.
Yep.
And I'm not jumping from no 15th floor. I'd be a burnt up soul.
Well, the owners corporation met to discuss suing the building.
I'd be burnt clean up.
Chairman called for a local motion to proceed with legal proceedings, which we have to spend $100 on the efforts. A representative of the builder and developer was there along with their lawyer, and they stood up. And the representative from the builder said, if you proceed with this unit, we have 7 apartments. And that left everyone sort of wondering whether they should proceed or not. Obviously, what's on track? When I moved in, it was a big building.
Craig Young sold his apartment 5 years ago, well before the current structural crack.
No, he glad.
He sold his.
5 years ago. And that was before the cracking even started. Okay, you guys, so I'm going to stop the video here to save time, and I'll be back once I finish bundling and start the illusion part, cutting and styling. Okay, you guys, so I'm cutting the
The
blunt.
problem started weeks after she bought the
And you
place.
want it like,
Shortly
you
after
just
her
want to
first
clip
tenants
the
moved in.
ends, or you want it like a little bit shorter, like here or here.
Yeah.
We've
Like
had
right here?
irrigation
Oh,
out the
okay.
front that flooded my whole courtyard. Then the last flood, which is what caused kind of like a bomb, was the tenants come home and found the carpet completely saturated. It looked as if water had been running down the walls, or it came from somewhere around here. So, yeah, it was quite devastating to be pretty much, as you can see.
The builder accused her tenants of sabotaging the apartment so they could break the lease.
That's what got me angry. Yeah, it was, how dare you blame my tenant when clearly it's your fault. Yeah, it's your shonky workmanship.
Bronwyn Koch was forced to sue her builder because he didn't have insurance covering for defects or unfinished work. In Australia, builders don't need the insurance if the building is over 3 stories high.
stories high. My builder doesn't have builder's warranty insurance, so I've got nothing to come back on, except the builder himself.
How surprised were you to learn that?
Horrified, absolutely horrified, because it's not known.
If people are not prepared for that kind of financial burden, they can find it really devastating. And I see it with almost all of my clients coming to me and asking, well, what do we do now? And unfortunately, they all have to spend more money on more expert reports, more legal fees, before they can even get the builder in a room to start talking about what they might cover. And generally, they're always somewhat out of pocket, even if they do recover part of it from the builder.
Yeah, I just got no words. Like, I never expected this at all. And I never expected to not have support or backup from, you know, the government departments and things like that. And, you know, where builders or whoever can just wipe their hands and go, not my problem, and I'm left standing with, you know, something that completely wasn't my fault.
Listen to it! The other major defect issue is fire protection. In June 2017, the world woke up to the dangers of inadequate fire prevention in high-rise towers. The Grenfell disaster in London killed 72 people. The fire spread due to flammable cladding.
Okay, so now I'm starting the illusion part. I laid the glue.
Typical within
I flat out the track. I'm gonna put a little bit of spritz on it.
Separate all the apartments.
David Blackett has been a building certifier in New South Wales for 25 years. He says the problem is not the certifiers, it's the system.
So often there is a perception that the certifier is like the policeman on site. Is that accurate? If not, why not?
No, absolutely not. The frequency of site attendance is governed by legislation. Now, if we stick to minimum legislative requirements, we are on site 5% of the construction program, right? If that. We're here for absolute milestone inspections only. So to suggest that we are policing the project couldn't be any further inaccurate. The certifiers under New South Wales legislation,
The law says certifiers are only required to check a fraction of these important safety devices called fire dampers, designed to prevent fire spreading through a building.
in a building of this size, what are we, 5-6 levels, there could literally be hundreds and hundreds of fire dampers penetrating the walls. So
You're only required to check one
per floor. One per floor.
That seems
If
crazy.
I have 300, I check one, $2.99 escape our book. So Sean, what we're looking at here is an apartment bathroom and ensuite.
The same applies to the waterproofing of bathrooms.
We're required to look at, certified in New South Wales, we're required to look at 10% only per floor. 100 bathrooms, 10 bathrooms only we're required to look at. But when we come out, we're looking at a membrane on a floor. We have no knowledge of how many coats have gone down, we've got no knowledge of how it was installed, and we've certainly got no knowledge of what happens to that floor after we walk away from the site.
Certifiers approve most construction work by relying on tradespeople and engineers saying they've done the job properly.
None of that paperwork carries any legal recognition. They're not legal documents. In some instances, they could be written on a beer coaster because they carry no recognition in the statutory process. The only one document that carries the legal recognition is our occupation certificate. If something was to fail or go wrong down the track, it's the occupation certificate that's brought to the table, and it's the issuance or the author of the occupation certificate who is in the firing line.
And that's you.
And that's me.
A spectacular example of alleged poor certification of buildings is currently playing out in the Northern Territory.
Later this month, a structural engineer is set to face an inquiry into alleged professional misconduct after 9 multi-storey buildings in Darwin and Palmerston were deemed to be non-compliant.
A government audit of the engineer's work showed the buildings he approved failed to meet the national construction standards. If found guilty, he faces deregistration in the Northern Territory, but that wouldn't stop him from practicing in other states.
The trouble at the moment is almost anybody in Australia can claim to be an engineer. Other than in Queensland, where there's been a registration system in place since 1930, in other states and jurisdictions, there is no restriction on anybody claiming to be an engineer. We regard that as being unacceptable, and I think the community regards this as being unacceptable.
Tonight, a 30-storey Sydney apartment building is evacuated with fears it could collapse.
Last Christmas Eve, Opal Tower residents in Sydney were forced out of their apartments after major cracking. The building was less than a year old.
I was thinking Australia is, very good in regulation stuff.